on hand, Conor Murphy MP. Most welcome, Conor. It's good to see you in Studio 1 on the sofa.
Good to be here.
A man of Camlock and a man of concern for his people. And one of the concerns you have at the moment is the movement of the customs and excise jobs, the back office work from Newry going away somewhere else. We're losing a lot of jobs.
Yes.
What's all that? Why are we losing them? What's the rationale did you hear?
Well, the HMRC is controlled from London. It's not a function of the Northern Ireland Civil Service, and any decisions in relation to it are taken in London. It's a very large organisation, some 25,000 staff, I think, between Britain and Ireland. And so, like most government departments, there's a need to rationalise and to streamline things a bit more. But the effect of their decision in places like Newry and Derry and in Enniskillen, which are bearing the brunt of these decisions, would have a much more disproportionate effect on the communities that live there, given the high rates of unemployment.
Yeah.
And so the decision in relation to Newry, I think, is devastating, because you're talking about 134 jobs, the complete closure of that office by 2015, the loss to the Newry economy of up towards £3 million a year of spending power from the people who work there. So that has a very significant knock-on effect in the local community, and there is a strong sense, I think, among the workers and the union people that we've been speaking to of injustice at the way this has been handled, a sense that perhaps, given that this is a Tory-dominated government, that this is about pulling these jobs and services and the work that they do back towards the south and east of England, which is predominantly Tory supporting, in order to protect jobs there at the expense of jobs here. So we will be making a very strong case to the British government ministers responsible. We have asked for a meeting. We now have a tentative date, I think, of the 15th of January.
Who will you be meeting with?
The Treasury Minister responsible is a guy called David Gock. And
has he got clout, or is he simply the minion?
He's the Minister responsible for HMRC, and so ultimately he will have to sign off on whatever proposals they have in terms of job reduction, service relocation, the closure of offices, and so that's the person we want to meet. But given that this is affecting Newry, Enniskillen and Derry, we've decided to go on a joint enterprise. Myself, Michelle Gildernew, who's the MP for Fermanagh South Tyrone, Mark Durkin, the MP for Derry, and Margaret Ritchie, the MP for South Down, whose constituents, some of the people who work in the Newry office would be constituents of ours. So we've decided the best approach, if you like, is a joint approach to
makes a lot of sense.
To point out very clearly that if decisions like this are taken in Britain, they are done obviously under whatever protocols apply there. But in the north of Ireland, as a consequence of the Good Friday Agreement, there are equality requirements on government departments and public bodies, including HMRC, to abide by equality principles. And that means that if you propose to take a course of action, you have to equality impact assess it to make sure it's not predominantly affecting one section of the community.
But they haven't done that, you see.
No, they haven't done that at all. And the offices they're closing are in Derry, Enniskillen and Newry.
Yeah,
predominantly affecting women. That's the majority of workers, and predominantly affecting women from a nationalist background, because that's the areas.
See, the probability is that this fellow you're going to meet, who calls the shots, he is in all probability not aware of that requirement.
Well, he may not be, but he should be.
He should be.
Yeah, if he's taking decisions, or his officials are advising or making propositions to him in terms of decisions, they have a duty when those decisions affect the North to understand the legislation that public bodies who employ people here are required to abide by, and that's the basis on which we'll be tackling this. And this hasn't been equality proofed. It has a very disproportionate effect on women and on women from the nationalist community, and that's against our equality principles, and that the decision should be revisited on that basis.
You see, I had thought that you may have left it too late, but what you're saying to me now and what you're telling me now suggests that you have a substantive case to put to this guy. He's got to come up with A, B, C answers.
Yeah, I think we have a substantive case. I think there's a great unfairness in what they're proposing to do. And I mean, the announcement really came out of the blue to the staff just a matter of 2 weeks ago. And we have been meeting with them and meeting with the unions who represent them. We've been discussing with other MPs from other parties the best approach to this. And we have sought the meeting with the minister responsible, and we just have had word last night of a tentative date to do that meeting. So we've been on it as soon as we knew that the proposition was happening, getting ourselves informed, marshalling the arguments against the proposition that's been put forward, and now going to meet the person responsible for taking those decisions. So I'm hoping that we will have a positive impact. I mean, I think the loss in Newry it's the totality of the jobs. In Derry, it's about a half of the jobs, although it will in effect make the office, I think, unsustainable into the longer term. In Enniskillen, it's about a third of the jobs, but also the suspicion there is it would make the office unsustainable going forward.
But Newry has been doing this for a very, very long time now, and it's got an honourable record of achievement.
Oh yes, I mean the staff there are highly trained, highly qualified. They've come from other parts of the civil service. The difficulty is with these staff is that they are what's known as Imperial civil servants. They are answerable to London, not to Belfast, which means that there aren't redeployment opportunities for them. If they were part of the Northern Ireland Civil Service, there might be redeployment opportunities for them to other departments. But that's not the case here. So it effectively means these people are out. They've been told to look at a voluntary redundancy scheme, and they're out by 2015. And I think that has a huge impact for the economy here. And I think, this decision couldn't be taken by the executive in Belfast, because they would have to abide by the equality provisions of the Good Friday Agreement. And therefore, the people from London, I think, when they're taking decisions which affect public life here and jobs, have to abide by the same principles.
But you say have to abide by the same principles. Do they? Maybe maybe the requirement is on the governance of Northern Ireland to abide by those principles, and not necessarily the Imperial people.
Well, there is an onus on public bodies. And I remember when the Good Friday Agreement legislation was drafted, I'm long enough about to be a part of that. In the first instance, there were some public bodies who sought to exempt themselves from that, and we made a very strong argument that bodies like the Northern Ireland Office and other public bodies here should be subjected to exactly the same equality legislation provisions as bodies which were answerable to Stormont.
And the thing, you see, it seems to me the road to peace is paved with a good economy.
Yes.
And if they are saying, on the one hand, we have a commitment to peace, to a process towards peace, you cannot actually start to dismantle the foundation of peace, which is the foundation. I'm not making a huge thing of this, but this is one little element in the wall that's labelled peace. And it's economy, it's people's lives. And some fellow sitting over in the southeast of England or in London making these pronouncements without fully recognising the obligations that he's under, without fully recognising the effect it's going to have, and without fully recognising the potential illegality of what he's doing. This gives you a very strong hand going over there.
Well, I think on the one hand, I mean, in the autumn we had David Cameron over here at an economic conference speaking very clearly, making the points that you're making about how peace building and conflict resolution needs to be underpinned by economic improvement and ability of people to find meaningful work and to be gainfully employed. And I think the decision then that his Treasury Minister, is taken flies in the face of those sentiments.
Are you talking to the right man? Should you be talking to Cameron?
Well, I think in the first instance, the way government systems work, if you go to somebody senior, they'll say, well, you better go and talk to the guy responsible. And I think we will go and talk to him. But it's by no means a one-meeting engagement. We're very determined, and we've discussed with the other MPs involved, we're very determined to challenge these decisions. They affect, as I say, 3 different constituencies, 4 when you take it where people live, who work in the Newry office. And I think we want to apply our combined efforts to try and make sure that these decisions are reversed, that there are proper equality impact assessments taken in relation to any future decisions in terms of employment.
Because you're as much laying down the roadmap for the future as you are saving these jobs.
Yeah, I think we want to remind the British Treasury in particular have responsibility for a significant number of civil service jobs here, that if they're going to decide, and departments do decide to change work streams and to redeploy people and to perhaps downsize and different, but they have a responsibility for, insofar as those apply to the North, they have a responsibility for making sure that they apply the equality legislation that applies to public service jobs in the North. And, in a large organisation like HMRC, with some, I'm told, in the region of 25,000 people, it's much easier to absorb those reductions across England, where the bulk of the staff are, than to have a devastating impact on 3 offices in Ireland.
That's as plain as the nose in your face.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they don't seem to have a nose on their face to see that.
Well, you know, I think sometimes there's an element of political expediency in these decisions, and if that's the case,
Ill thought through.
well, if that's the case, that's not the way government is supposed to operate. That's not what legislation is there to make sure that bad decisions aren't taken that are politically expedient, and that's what we intend to apply to this.
You're sharp. You're clean cut on this.
Well, I mean, we've been talking to the unions, in fairness to them, the PCS and the workers themselves. They're very clear and they're very focused. They have to the 18th of December to accept a voluntary exit scheme. They're going to refuse that.
Yeah.
And they intend to fight this. And they're very clear on the grounds on which it should be fought. And we are taking advice from them. And I think they have a very good case, and we intend to try and make it on their behalf.
Okay, Christmas beckons. When you put all of that to bed, you're expecting a lovely Christmas out in Camelot.
Well, I hope so. I mean, you're always conscious at this time of year that people are facing uncertainties and struggling, but I think everybody at least gets a couple of days over Christmas just to switch off, to sort of lose yourself in your own family life and close the door for a bit.
Absolutely.
But and you know, looking forward to a family Christmas.
Absolutely.
It was a broader family there, and my own family as well, in living in the area, and I think we're fortunate, and quite a few of us are still about. A lot of the younger generation are gone and will be missing for Christmas. Yeah,
but that's not necessarily a bad thing, Conor, because you know, I was thinking about this with Fergal McCormick. It's sad to see them away, but the world is a very small place nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, you're being listened to in Australia at the moment, and apart from anything else, those youngsters who are gone as a consequence of what we're enduring economically, they're building new skills. You know, Canada wants, bring us your needy people. We want them. Canada's saying so. The same thing applies. I'm never totally despondent about, not even remotely despondent about immigration, because people are going out to seize opportunities.
Oh no, and I think, I mean, certainly when people are young, I think the opportunity to travel, to get new experiences, to broaden their horizons, to get a more worldly view, these are all indispensable part of growing up and maturing.
Absolutely.
I suppose most families at home would like to think that at some case, sometime, there will be an opportunity for them to return home.
Absolutely.
I think particularly if people start to settle down and have families themselves, that's where grandparents
Once you start having children in Canada or in New South Wales, you become New South Wales or Canada.
And that's where I think the distance becomes more unmanageable.
It's not just about an hour away on the flight path, or 8 hours away on the flight path. Go well.
Okay.
God bless you.
Nice
it's lovely to see you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Music, maestro, please.